Hi everyone. First, let me say how grateful I am that you've all taken the time to be here. Some of you have traveled from across the country and others from across the world. It is remarkable to see so many people in one room, all working together for the same purpose, to strengthen and grow the game bird industry together. From the very beginning of MacFarlane Pheasants, collaboration has been at the heart of our story. It's what helped us take our first steps and what's carried us through nearly a century of growth. We're here today because we believe that when we share ideas openly, we just don't improve our own farms, we strengthen the entire industry. I remember the first seminars we hosted back in the late 1990s. They were small, and to be honest, people were a little hesitant to share too much. The spirit of collaboration is what turned our gatherings into what they are today. True opportunities to learn, connect, and innovate. The theme I want to set for the seminar is simple. We are stronger when we collaborate, and innovation happens when ideas are shared. Our roots in collaboration go back to the very beginning. Before starting the farm, my Uncle Kenneth traveled to New York to attend a game bird rearing school. After he finished his schooling, he returned to Wisconsin with plans to start MacFarlane Pheasant Farm. His education itself was our first form of collaboration, and it set the tone for how we've approached the growth and improvement ever since. In 1928, Kenneth imported the first eggs from the Game Bird Game Farm in England, an early example of international collaboration that brought innovation straight to our doorstep. Kenneth officially started MacFarlane Pheasant Farm in 1929, and my father joined him in the business in 1935. They worked side by side and pooled their strengths to grow their businesses, and eventually my father took over in 1941 after my uncle died in a tragic hunting accident. In 1946, my parents took a vacation into upper Minnesota. On the return trip, they stopped at a cafe to eat lunch. There was another cafe directly across the street, and my parents picked one of the two to eat at. About 10 days later, my father came down with symptoms of polio and ended up getting a full-blown case of polio simply because he picked the cafe on the left side of the road instead of the right side. Most pheasant farms or game farms have owners that are actively involved in the daily physical routines of raising game birds. My father and my mother fit that same mold. They were out doing work every day, running the physical aspects of the pheasant farm. Once my dad contracted polio and was paralyzed from the waist down, he was not in a position to do virtually any physical labor outside with the birds. So here's a man with 4 children, a wife, a mortgage, fledgling business. I can't imagine the stress that he would have been under. Because my dad was unable to perform many of the daily physical challenges that a game bird farmer would face, he put his efforts other places. And one of the biggest places my dad put his efforts was towards answering the phone, talking to people, and helping people get started raising birds. My dad was readily available on the phone during even the most unreasonable hours. Many dinners with my parents were interrupted by a telephone call or somebody at the door that wanted to pick up something or wanted to talk something through. All those extra steps, I know, created more of a market for us because my dad was so available. It improved the accessibility of our farm. It was very important to my father that he be able to do the things that other game farmers can do. As I mentioned, he was focused on answering the phone and those types of jobs, but had very little ability to perform jobs that required your legs. But he did come up with what other people had also invented, but my dad came up with the hand controls to be able to drive a car without using your legs. Remember, he was a chemical engineer. It's sort of like on a motorcycle, you twist the handle for more speed. So I grew up in a household where it was just normal. I actually was taught to drive on such a contraption because I could see over the steering wheel. So I was driving when I was probably 7 or 8 years old. And my dad always told me that You could learn a lot more about the health of the birds by simply walking around the pens or driving around the pens. And as the farm got bigger, we used his contraption to drive around the pens all the time. It was a very useful device. It was a huge blow to the farm when my dad contracted polio, not only from a financial standpoint, but from the direction that we literally did not have the people to do the work. At the same time, my mother had a younger brother, James Adamson, who was in the Navy, and with James or Jim agreement, my father wrote a letter to the Navy requesting Jim be able to return to Wisconsin and carry on with my dad. Jim brought with him quite a list of operational procedures and protocol. From the beginning, it was a good fit. My dad selling the birds and marketing the birds, and Jim raising the birds. Personally, Jim was like a second father to me and taught me how to work, something that I held on to my whole life. Without a doubt, Jim knew how to raise quality pheasants. Jim taught me when I was a teenager what you need to do to make the pheasants you raise healthy and good feathering. My father did the marketing and did quite well, and it was a very important part of the business. But Jim ran the farm and did the day-to-days and was vital to the success of the farm. I spent most of my teenage years working on the farm and doing my schoolwork. As I grew older, I had absolutely no interest in staying on the farm, so I left for college in Iowa and only came home for major holidays, honestly, so I could avoid working on the farm. After finishing 2 years of school in Iowa, I moved to Houston to live with my brother Ken. I worked at various jobs to support myself. I earned my degree in economics, and I was planning to go to law school when my father called me and asked me to come home to help take over the farm due to his health. Looking back over the last years, I can say with complete honesty that I had absolutely no interest in returning to the farm after I planned on graduating from college. It wasn't that I thought I was better than it, I just didn't like doing it and had very little interest in getting involved with the operation. Coincidentally, though, my father was reaching retirement age and had a series of strokes, and he just wasn't in very good physical condition. And furthermore, my Uncle Jim was reaching the end of his career and began to verbalize interest in perhaps retiring from the farm too. So when I was graduating from college, would be September 1979, I continued with my let's get away from here as fast as we can attitude. But my dad asked me if I would come home, and I didn't know how to say no to him. It's just the truth. I couldn't say no to him. So, with a lot of hesitation, I made the decision to move home in September of 1979 with the idea that I would be taking over the management of the farm. So I moved home and started the journey. When I came back to the farm in 1979, most of our sales were local. Customers lived within 100 to 200 miles of Janesville, and that was the norm for most pheasant farms at the time. I saw an opportunity to do things differently. I began traveling to Washington, Florida, Texas, Quebec, and other places to meet people face to face. These trips weren't just about finding new customers, they were about building relationships. The more I traveled, the more I realized how much we could grow by listening and collaborating. Those conversations gave me ideas that we could bring back home, and they opened the doors across the country. As demand grew, we invested in bigger trucks and hired CDL drivers to deliver nationwide. That step changed the direction of our business and helped us scale. But more importantly, it reinforced the lesson that when you connect with others, share ideas, and stay open to new ways of thinking, collaboration fuels growth. In 1988, we began exploring ways to introduce new genetics into our farm. After 3 years of working closely with the Wisconsin Department of Agriculture, I traveled to Jilin Province in China, near Changchun City, to collect 1,200 Manchurian ringneck pheasant eggs. I believe this breed would thrive in Wisconsin since the region shares the same latitude and very similar weather pattern to our own. After rigorous testing and a 30-day waiting period, APHIS cleared the eggs as healthy, and we were able to transport them safely to our farm. 2 years later, in 1990, we imported another shipment of Manchurian ringneck eggs. That same year, we began selling a cross of our pure Manchurian cockbirds with our own ringneck hens. The response from customers was overwhelmingly positive. Since then, we've sold hundreds of thousands of Manchurian cross ringneck pheasant chicks, and to this day we maintain a pure flock of Manchurian pheasants for crossing. In fact, MacFarlane Pheasants is home to the only pure flock of Manchurian pheasants in the United States. Shortly after I came back to the farm, I realized that farms in the EU were running things more efficiently. I made connections and decided to visit these farms to collaborate and to gain insights. I took my first trip in 1982 to High Fly in Bettis Hall and took 5 more trips over the next 6 years. I was surprised how much these farms were willing to share about their protocols, processes, and how interested they were in our farm. The connections I made and the things I learned on these trips changed and improved our farm over the years. Over the years, I've gone on several group trips with other game bird producers to Washington, D.C. with NAGA. Our goal was to lobby members of the Congress and senators. I had several members of our production crew come over the years, including Sarah Pope and Chris Tyson. These trips brought connection and insight and helped move our initiatives forward. In the 1960s, my father Donald tried something bold for the time. He began installing massive floodlights in our pens. They were the kind you typically see in a football stadium or a parking garage. The idea was simple and powerful. If the birds sensed longer days, they would begin laying earlier and more consistently. The innovation gave us a head start. Having our eggs earlier meant we could hatch chicks earlier in the season than most of our competitors. That advantage allowed us to reach the market first, earn new business, and build lasting relationships with customers who have valued that consistency year after year. What started as an experiment quickly became one of the key drivers of our early growth, showing us how much could be gained by trying new approaches and not being afraid to do things differently. In 1983, I teamed up with a local group including Howard Porter and Ken Molnar, to photograph our birds on the farm. Together, we created a professional full-color price list that showed our pheasants in a way that no one else in the industry was doing at the time. Back then, most businesses were still relying on black and white print on simple manila paper. By using high-resolution images and color printing, we stood out immediately. That project not only elevated our marketing materials, but also helped us take a strong position within the chick business, attracting new customers and setting a new standard for how game bird farms could present themselves. In 1987, we expanded our hatchery and brought in nature farm incubators, which bumped our capacity from a few 100,000 chicks a year to over 1 million. At the time, it felt like an exciting step forward. But as it turned out, we got a little ahead of ourselves. Demand just wasn't there, and suddenly we were left with more chicks than we could sell, along with the stress that comes with it. It was a reminder that not every move you make pays off right away. Innovation often comes with a bit of risk. Thankfully, timing worked in our favor. In 1985, the Conservation Reserve Program was launched, and by 1986, the USDA had begun working with landowners to retire highly erodible farmland for 10 to 15 years in exchange for rental payments. By 1989, the landowners who had set aside farmland through CRP were realizing that they could also create hunting preserves as a second source of income. That new market brought with it a big demand for pheasants to release as the whole industry started to shift. We were lucky to catch on early, and by expanding our breeder flock, we were ready to meet the demand when it arrived. By being proactive, we were prepared to meet the surge in interest and support the growing number of hunting preserves with both chicks and mature birds. From the time I was growing up on the farm and until I moved back home, the farm had consistently sold about 3,000 dressed pheasants, whole white birds, each year. In the 70s, my father was contracted by a professor, Dr. Richard Kane of Texas A&M, who wanted to develop a new breed of meat pheasants. My father shipped some of our white pheasants and some of our jumbo ringneck pheasants to Texas. In the mid-1980s, I received a phone call from Texas A&M University saying that they were winding down their program and disbanding the project, and asked me if I wanted the remaining birds. I said yes without hesitation. Not long after, in 1988, my friend Brian Reff encouraged me to take the white bird business more seriously. I already had a sense that the market was shifting, but with his support, I had confidence to act on it. We started working with Dr. Nick Anthony of Texas A&M University, a geneticist who we hired to help us improve the line. Twice a year, he came out to help us select the best breeding birds. At the time, it took 20 weeks for a cock to reach 4 pounds. But through careful selection, by 2017, we had them averaging 3.7 pounds in just 12 weeks. That efficiency gave us room to grow without losing quality. By 1998, we weren't selling just a few thousand dressed birds anymore. We were selling 200,000 dressed birds each year. In 2019, we took another step forward by expanding into the pet food industry, creating just another revenue stream from those same white birds. There was a significant interest in Hungarian partridges, or Huns, in the late 1980s, but sourcing proved difficult. With the help of Jean-Marc Riddell, a friend from France, we were able to secure Hungarian partridge eggs from Denmark through Papso in 1990. Jean-Marc traveled to our farm to teach us how to hatch and raise these delicate birds, something we've continued to refine over the decades. Raising Hungarian partridges comes with unique challenges compared to pheasants. Their chicks are tiny, about the size of a quarter, and require extra care in their earliest stage of life. Despite this, they remain a favorite in the industry for both their resilience and the exciting hunting experience they provide. We've been importing Hungarian partridge eggs ever since, and today raise around 40,000 Huns annually. These partridges are hardy, social birds that travel in groups. Their brown plumage allows them to blend seamlessly into their surroundings, making them a challenge for hunters. In 1994, I worked with a local internet provider, InWave, to apply for a domain name. At the time, I thought registering it for MacFarlane would provide the most sense, but it was already taken. The provider suggested that we try for Pheasant.com, though we didn't think we'd ever get it. To our surprise, the request was approved. Back then, our website was nothing more than a simple banner with some basic information about chicks and mature birds. But being one of the first in the industry to have a website gave us a real advantage. Over time, we kept updating and expanding it, adding online chick sales and more resources to help others in the industry. In 2009, one of our longtime pheasant customers approached us asking if we could raise red-legged partridges. After looking into it, we decided these partridges would be the perfect addition to our farm. Importing these birds required close collaboration with the federal government. Each shipment of eggs begins with an application and an import permit. Once the eggs arrive in Chicago, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife inspects them for deliverance into the United States. Only after passing inspection can the eggs make their way to our farm. The red-legged partridges have proven to be an excellent fit. They are hardy birds, able to withstand extreme climates, and they are both flighty and fast, traits that make them especially desirable for hunting. They are also relatively easy to raise in captivity, which allows us to provide a consistent, high-quality supply. Over the years, this collaboration has grown into a cornerstone of our business. We consistently sell about 60,000 redlegs annually, and this has been such a great addition to our farm. Another organization was founded at the time my dad's company was growing. The new organization was called the NAGA, or North American Game Bird Association. My dad was very active in the NAGA from the start, and I have records of him routinely attending meetings wherever they were across the country. Another more local organization was Wisconsin Game Preserve Association. The WGPA has been active in assisting game bird farms to resist higher taxes and other punitive measures. The NAGA, or North American Game Bird Association, has been a vital organization in warding off higher taxation of game birds, tax of feed, and many other issues that affect game bird farmers. My dad was very involved in issues that arose that would result in higher taxes or higher regulation. There have been examples in the U.S. of use tax being imposed or taxation on the birds, even though the birds are already taxed upon the sale from the producer to the preserve. The proposal would result in the birds being taxed twice. Without a doubt, the farms in our country would have been saddled with those taxes if they did not collaborate and work together, provide a united front. Also, when need arise, it was good to have all these other members available to stick up for you like we had to on more than one occasion. Our farm has always been involved in national game bird issues. My dad participated in every way he could. We have continued at MacFarlane Pheasants to keep national issues front on the list of issues. I personally joined the NAGA in 1979. Initially, it was a struggle coming into the NAGA, especially as the son of an owner and one with hair halfway down his back. But I persevered and ended up making many friends in the organization. I served 3 terms as the NAGA president, and this also is passed on with Sarah Pope from our farm being elected president. Throughout the beginning of my career, I also took trips to South Dakota. We had clients out there. As my father grew older, it became more difficult to keep sales. As the new hunting preserves were opening up in South Dakota, there became more demand for birds, and not just any birds, top quality birds. As I mentioned earlier, my father was a paraplegic. Most pheasant producers delivered their own pheasants to their customers, and at those meetings, when the birds are actually sold, it gave my dad an opportunity to visit customers. But as there was more customers in South Dakota, it was difficult for my father to efficiently visit that many farms. But my dad could go during the summer and visit the customers personally and achieve the same result, which is more recognition of our farm, more knowledge of who our farm is. So in the 80s, it became much more common for me to travel to South Dakota, not for the purpose of delivering birds, with the initiative of meeting the customers and getting to know the customers better than we had before. Because our footprint has grown much larger to where South Dakota is just one of many states that we deliver to, this has had a lasting impact on our farm. And today, Sarah Pope and Sarah Baker still make these trips. Over the years, one of my many connections I made was with Jim Clark. Like me, his family owned a pheasant farm in the area. Jim was a second-generation owner. He took over Blonhaven Game Farm in Milton at age 26. Today, we use Blonhaven's farm as our Milton location and lease this land. We also work closely with Jim over the years on consulting. He helped us start the Canadian division of our business, frequently helped us with bird deliveries, and oversaw the construction of over 36 acres of pens to our farm recently. My father was very involved in the community and giving back. He co-founded the Janesville chapter of the NAACP, and he served on the board of Habitat for Humanity and left property to the cause after his death. He hosted countless field trips and helped support children in the community, taught Sunday school, and he served on the Rock County Board of Supervisors for 20 years. In 1951, my family sponsored Nick Bushko and his family after they were displaced from a German war camp. They worked on the farm after they were welcomed to the United States. We've continued this legacy in giving back over the years, and it's always been one of our top initiatives. Throughout my leadership at MacFarlane's, we worked with and volunteered at the local schools and helped troubled youth. MacFarlane Pheasants proudly supports many organizations today, including ECHO, United Way, Vets Roll, the Boys and Girls Club, and many others. MacFarlane Pheasants is a proud member of the Ag Business Council of Rock County. We proudly display at the Rock County 4-H Fair each summer and enjoy teaching the community about the importance of agriculture. Another type of collaboration that I failed to mention is to get your new employees and even your existing employees to onboard and collaborate with the management of our facility. In my case, I would be the captain of the ship, and the individuals that chose to get on my ship were onboarded. So onboarding works in our farm when we take new employees and make sure before they start their first day of work that they are offered an opportunity to get a tour and get a flavor of the entire operation to help them understand how they can be more efficient workers on our farm. Over the years, so many dedicated team members have played a vital role in shaping and growing MacFarlane Pheasants. Without them, we wouldn't be where we are today. From celebrating at Christmas parties to enjoying summer outings, building strong relationships and shared experiences has always mattered to us. Supporting our team, investing in careers, and making time to have fun and create memories along the way are all part of what makes our journey special. Over the years, our seminars have grown in ways we could never have imagined, evolving from simple gatherings into meaningful opportunities and for learning, collaboration, and connection. I vividly remember the first seminar, which was held in 1998. We didn't have that many attendees, but over half of the attendees were from Europe. Remember, the groups staying separated throughout the convention. Very little interaction. We came up with the idea for the second convention to have name tags for the first night and assigned seating for the first night, and that turned the trick. It has been incredibly rewarding to see our participants open up, share their experiences, and exchange valuable tricks and trade that help everyone improve. The willingness to support one another, ask questions, and learn together has created a stronger, more connected community, and I am always grateful to everyone that has helped make our seminars such a success. As many of you know, this is my last seminar before I retire, and standing here with so many of you, friends, colleagues, and partners from around the world, really means a lot. Nothing we've accomplished has ever been done alone. Every success has come from working together, learning from each other, and supporting one another. That's what makes this industry so special. If I could leave you with one thing, it's don't hold back from what you've learned. Share it, reach out to someone, compare notes. You never know, one conversation could lead to the next big improvement in the way we all raise and manage our birds. Younger farmers, family members, and now new leaders are stepping in. They're the future of our industry, and they need us to guide them, encourage them, and keep building strong organizations like the NAGA and the WGPA. Staying engaged, speaking up, and even voting when the time comes are essential for keeping our industry healthy. I am so thankful for everyone I've had a chance to work with over the years. The friendships and collaborations, the shared struggles, they've shaped our industry and made it all the more worthwhile. Today's seminar is another reminder of how strong we are when we come together.